violence. I'm totally against violence.
Let's get it popping. We recording up here? Or, yeah, we good? All right, cool. Oh, shoot. All right, so we on live right now?
We are live.
All right.
We need headphones?
You could, yeah. I don't usually do it. But just make sure you speak into the mic.
You need headphones?
So, let's get it popping. Barbershop Debates Podcast. Are we recording on audio? Cool. Barbershop Debates Podcast. Definitely a subject that I bring to the shop often. And I brought it to the shop, I think, maybe like, a week and a half ago, about police brutality versus police force. And I put this post up on Facebook.
I didn't quite get that.
I know, I'm gonna say it again. Of course we got let me not start getting on Pastor Lewis right now. I'm not gonna do it yet. But so yeah, there was a unfortunate tragedy with Jason Negron in Bridgeport, Connecticut, who was killed by police officers, and I put a post up because immediately I wanted to know, was it necessary? Was it really necessary? Was there any other way that situation could have been handled instead of killing him? And, you had so many discussions, so many different debates and views and perspectives, nothing that was coming, from an expert. And of course at the shop, we were just going back and forth. And at the shop, everybody's an expert. You got expert pastors, you got experts of everything. Like, you don't even know, trust me, my cousin actually was with somebody and married to somebody who had a brother that was a cop. And he told me 2 years ago at a cookout, shoot to kill.
It be like that.
Right.
Like that. You're not even exaggerating.
Like, come on, man. So I felt like, you know what, this is a great opportunity to speak with brothers and sisters that I know are versed in working with community and working with police who are police officers. And I felt like this was a great opportunity to have this discussion. A lot of times we talk about what is going on with police brutality and the racism, which I understand. Unfortunately, we have to acknowledge that. But I think what I don't hear a lot of people talk about is really getting a full understanding of how people are trained, how cops are trained, how are they prepared in the field. So we have some great people at the table. I believe our last and final guest is also about to walk in shortly. But right now I want to just go around and introduce everybody that's here. If you could just say your name for the audience and a little bit about your background and how you came into where you are today and what you do. So I'm going to start with you, brother, to my left. Okay, all right. So just so you know, in radio, 3 seconds, that's an ugly pause.
My name is Don Sawyer. I am a sociology and criminal justice professor at Quinnipiac University in Hamden, Connecticut, originally from Harlem World, USA.
All right. And we got the brother next to him.
All right, my name is Pastor Lewis.
If you could just speak into the mic, bro.
Pastor Lewis. You sure you want me to get the mic?
Yeah, I want you to speak into the mic. You know how you do every Sunday.
Yeah.
All right.
My name is Pastor Lewis, New Haven, Connecticut, born and raised here. I'm also working with the Connecticut Center for Nonviolence.
Okay.
My name is Shafiq Abdusabar. I wear a lot of hats. I'm a
lot
law
of hats.
enforcement officer. Today I'm not here representing any police department. I'm just here as an author of The Black Man's Guide to Law Enforcement in America, which is a book that I published almost 10 years ago, which I'm sadly to say, I thought it would be outdated by now and I would be on my second edition, but as I'm about to release the second edition, it seems like the book still has not been able to do the job. So today I'm here in that capacity and do what I can help as a community leader, as a resident of New Haven, also as a father of 4 black boys and a young black daughter. I certainly understand the issues, and we really need to figure out a way to get to the bottom of it. I really appreciate you having me on the show. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Otis Bassel. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is my first time doing something like this.
That's all right.
I've been a police officer for 10 years. I grew up in the Valley area. I have family up here from New Haven. My mother passed away when I was 19. My father recently passed away about 3 years ago. Maybe you might know him, Marvin Smith, Leo the Lion.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
That was my father.
Yes.
I've been a police officer for 10 years, like I said. I've been on the SWAT team for 8 years. I want to say fire instructor for 4 years, and I train at our police department. I train on fair and impartial policing. Try to do my best in the community and with my police department. So.
All right.
Thanks for having me, though.
No, thank you. And sister?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm Arisha Allah from Black Lives Matter in New Haven.
Okay, all right. And real quick, a quick background of like how you got involved with Black Lives Matter.
Well, after watching the Zimmerman trial with my son, I was on vacation actually, but it took over the vacation, and we came back. That same summer, there was actually several murders. It was throughout the city, and is what most people would call black-on-black crime. I just like to call it crime, though, and it ignited something within me internally because we were just hit from all spectrums, internally and externally. And so I called one of my co-founder, Sun Queen, or Lauren Pittman, and I asked her to help me find if there was a Black Lives Matter chapter. I thought, like, this is New Haven, the city of Yellow would be already in existence. I was just trying to join, but it wasn't, and we put a call out to ask anyone else if they wanted to join. Dawnese Bulwer Trayor got in touch with us, and then we tried to get in touch with the national movement. They, I know, were bogged down with so many things that they didn't get back to us, and so we just put out a call as to how do we get started, because this is my first foray into anything like this. I'm just a gatherer of knowledge on my own. So, Answer CT actually sat down with us in the library in New Haven and told us to just get started, and we've been doing it ever since.
No doubt, no doubt. Shout out to you.
Wow, 3 years now.
See what happens when you volunteer? You should take over.
Word up. Just get involved. That's a lot of times when we push, just get involved.
Just get
involved. Say, well, how do I do this? Just get involved.
Yeah, that's what I tell everyone who asks me now. I'm just like, just do it, because otherwise you'll like waiting forever, and no one's going to do it exactly like you're going to do it anyway. Yeah. So if you have a call to leadership, you should just probably take it, because you're not going to really want to follow it.
No doubt. Mm-hmm. I'm putting it in the atmosphere, and I already got the patent for y'all people who want to steal it. But an app for grassroots work, like where you can go on this app and find every type of grassroots work that's going on in the community you're in. You know what I'm saying? No excuse.
They have an app out now just for, like, if you're in town and you want to go just to black-owned things. They have an app
that's
for
dope
that.
too. That's
they
dope
have an
too.
App for that now.
But grassroots work, whether, you know, no matter what it is, just being able to go, because that's what people need to do, man. It's grassroots. That's where we're going to see change at. You know what I'm saying? So, you want to talk about who you are and stuff? No, you good. All right, so we're going to get it right into the work that we're talking about here. And I call it work because it's like this discussion ain't easy. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of emotions involved, and in all fairness for everybody here who has different perspectives on different things, nobody here is less empathetic towards losing another youth, another one, you know, specifically towards police violence, you know, if that's what we're going to call it, which is the reason why I'm putting this together, because I want to get into this. I already see you, Arisha, like, first of all,
don't do me like
that. And just so you know, I shared the video onto your page, on all y'all pages, so everybody should be able to tune in that way.
Okay, good, because people are, I'm terrible with the
Yeah, I know.
I'm so bad. Thank you so
I'm just
much.
trying to get on it right now, so. So for everybody who's not familiar with what happened in Bridgeport, especially for listeners who are not from Connecticut at all, and we have plenty of those, I'm just going to go through the facts that I have, all right? And then there's some questions I want to talk about surrounding this case and this situation, And then I want to move into more broad topics that deal with the way police are trained and everything else that we want to contribute to this conversation. So, first and foremost, what I have is that Bridgeport police initiated a pursuit after spotting a stolen vehicle outside Walgreens Tuesday evening, according to state police. During the chase, the stolen vehicle hit several cars along Fairfield Avenue, and the pursuit ended in a shooting on Fairfield Avenue near Park Avenue just after 5 p.m. Bridgeport officer James Boulay opened fire when the stolen vehicle accelerated in reverse and hit an officer, according to state police. The driver of the vehicle, 15-year-old Jason Negron, was killed, and the passenger, identified as 21-year-old Julian Fife of Bridgeport, was shot in the shoulder. Fife's mother, Idris Lomax, I hope I'm saying her name right, said her son told her police blocked the car in and pulled guns on them, and her son and the other suspect were trying to get out the car to surrender when they were shot. The door just wouldn't open. Quote, that's a quote. He was trying, they're still yelling, get out the car, put your hands up, and he was like, what do you want me to do, put my hands up or get out the car? Lomax said her son did not know the car was stolen and never been in trouble before. She also said she thought Bridgeport police were wrong in how they handled the situation. Quote, I'm seeking justice for my son because this shouldn't have happened. There were other ways y'all could have done this. Y'all could have stopped them. You had them trapped already in the car. What was the point of them being shot? The deceased suspect's body remained uncovered for some time while Bridgeport police waited for the Waterbury State's Attorney Office, State Police, and the medical examiner to take over the scene. Chief Armando Perez said the officer fired his gun because he feared for his life after he alleges Negron backed the car into him and almost pinned him underneath. Officials said during the news conference that the officer who fired his gun has been with the police department for a year. Giovanni Rivera was a cousin of, I believe of Jason Negron, who was told by the police when they came to his house that Jason was killed instantly on the scene, shot in the head, killed on the scene. But there was a video that released after showing him moving after he was already allegedly shot dead. So that means he was uncovered. There was no weapon on the scene. That's a fact. There was no weapon on the scene. There are some conflicting stories about whether he was dead on the scene as well. There's no evidence that was provided that the car was stolen. And there's also, like I said, no weapon on the scene. There was 3 bullets, 2 that hit Fife, 1 that hit Jason. And so now, and like I said, there was no. And then also the lawyer said that the cop who fired was allegedly was an Iraq war vet, allegedly suffering from PTSD, and was a rookie. Okay, so these are the facts that I've found. Because at one point when I put the post out there, we didn't have all the facts, and it was very quick for people to say it's unfortunate, but by law, this is what the cops had to do. This is what the police had to do. And so that just leads me right into the main question that I really want to put on the table. And I'll start with the gentlemen who are most experienced in this area, because I've heard from everybody who is the cousin and brother. And so I want to hear from experts. Let me hear from people who actually do this. Based off the information that we have, was the police shooting justified?
It's hard to say because we don't have all the information. Like all this is speculation. We know that every news report that comes out, it's not what happened. You're gonna have to come up with witness statements. You're gonna have to come up with forensics to see exactly what happened.
And witnesses also said, by the way, that the car was. This is just witness.
Yes.
Witnesses said that the car was surrounded. Mm-hmm. That all the cops had them surrounded. Mm-hmm. So there was no. It wasn't like the kid was just whipping it around like, who's next? Trying to do whatever that video game is, Grand Theft Auto. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to get more information from you too, because I don't really, when stories first come out, I don't follow it right away because it's never exactly what it seems. I do know that A lot of people, when it comes to the general public, when you're talking about this person saw this person saw that, a lot of times, if not almost all the time, when they see a traumatic incident, they don't see their stories change day by day, and it looks like they're lying when they're not, because they're just remembering more and more facts. That's why you have some police officers, when they're getting to an incident like this, they don't say anything. Not because they don't want to say anything, because they are told not to. So after a few days, they can remember all the facts. Just like Mike Brown, I want to say the case.
Yeah.
There was a lot of initial witnesses. The ones who gave the accurate description of what happened, those were like 4 or 5 days later, of them actually getting that actual account of what happened. So there's a process, and you probably know you sociology, right? And working with the mind and everything. I'm not too, but when traumatic incidents happen, you don't remember everything that happened, and it goes the same thing with anybody if you're protecting yourselves. What people don't realize, or they forget, that the laws that protect, you think that just protect police officers, these are the same laws that protect you when you want to protect yourself, when you fear for your life. I know this because I'm a firearms instructor, and I have my own courses when I teach people how to protect themselves, and I teach them the same laws. Just that you can't just go run somebody down and chase them and apprehend them. But if somebody coming to your house, coming to your space, or doing something that's going to hurt you, you can protect yourself the same way a police officer can protect themselves. But at the same time, like I tell people, what they first see, you don't have the whole story. So yes, we can have this conversation. I think it's great that everybody's here, and I cancel everything today. All right, like I won't be
here. He was here at 7:30 in the morning. Like, it was PM? I'm like, yeah, brother,
no,
it was PM.
I came at 7:30 in the morning.
No doubt. She was
7:30
ready.
at night, I'm coming back.
No doubt.
This is an important conversation to
That's
have,
good.
because a lot of times we have it in our own circles. We have it with our cops. We have it with our professionals. We have it with our people.
At the barbershop.
Grassroots.
Yeah.
Grassroots and we have it in our own little corners, but nobody talking to each other. We're
No
talking
doubt.
at each other. We're
Yeah.
screaming. So.
I think also an issue.
I didn't want to
was
lose what you said, though. Sometimes I keep going. But go ahead.
Yeah.
that he was shot and then pulled out the car and then handcuffed and then left there for 4 to 5 hours.
Let's go to that. Is that proper? Is that police procedure? Is that what you're supposed to do?
Look at you.
Look at you.
I don't know why I sat here.
I love it.
I sat right like.
Oh man, I did not do this on purpose, but this is great.
I'm just waiting.
You have
my rapt attention. I'm waiting for this answer.
I'll get closer. So,
Thank you.
again, I'm Shafiq Abdul-Sabbar. So today I'm not here representing the police department, but I will tell you the procedure of how it goes. Under Connecticut state law, a more recent law was passed, and I'll try to pull it up before the end of this broadcast, but it was the Excessive Force Act that was passed by the state about 2 years ago by Governor Malloy in the state Congress, which basically says that if an officer gets involved in a use of force incident and that force that is used by the officer surmounts to the level where that person may die of the wounds from that injury or is dead from the wounds of that injury, immediately that investigation becomes the responsibility of the state police. So what you are normally accustomed to, maybe when watching TV, when you see someone get shot and then all of the officers that are a part of that department are around that person doing things in an incident such as what we're talking about with Bridgeport, once that young man is shot or those individuals are shot, that incident becomes a state police incident, and then the state police are going to come in. Now, two things happen when state police come in, or when you see what they call the coroner component comes in. You can also have an incident where in the city a person is found dead in the house already, and it's a homicide. If it's ruled a homicide, somebody maybe is shot to death and you find them in the house 5 hours later, that person is going to stay in the house until like the coroner comes in and gets involved, because AMR and the fire department will not remove a dead body. That's just the policy. But in a police shooting, once that person is pronounced dead on that scene, that's the scene. To the state police or to them coming in doing the investigation, anybody moving anything around or adjusting that, it begins to change or alter what their crime scene is, because they need all that information to process and come up with a conclusion. One of the stronger debates that I've been involved in at both the state level and with the Justice Department and with others is how do we expedite this process, because it takes time for that state police unit to mobilize. They're not on call, they're not driving around, they have to be called up and they have to go get their stuff and then they have to load it up and then they have to bring it to that location, and normally that could be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. So the incident happens, ambulance is called, all these other things are happening, you've already burnt 90 minutes. 3 hours later, the investigators for that incident is now showing up. It's 4 hours later and that person is still there. So I think we're now moving into a new threshold in law enforcement where we're talking about accountability, but I think we also need to talk about creativity. And the creativity is, if we know or we perceive or we can anticipate that this might happen, what else can we do differently to lessen this trauma to the community? Could we, because we know we can't put anything over the body, but could we create some kind of curtain effect, right, around that? So here's the drawback. If the police were to put up something so people would not be able to videotape somebody's dead relative or have their camera trained on that, then in the other mind is, well, what are they doing
Exactly.
on the other
That's what
side
I'm
of
gonna
that?
think.
Exactly.
I'm gonna think like, well, what are they doing?
So what do you do? Can you take the body? So you take the body and you move the body, and some of the critical evidence that might be needed to either convict or exonerate or explain is altered, and then you have no, you know, it becomes like a car accident where you say, unfortunately, you hit her and you hit her, but I can't determine because I wasn't there. The community doesn't want to hear that. They want to hear guilty or not guilty.
Yeah.
But currently, that is the current Connecticut state process. And
Can I
I
ask
wanna-
a question about that real quick?
Yeah, I want to just go from Don, your question, and then Orisha, you seem like you had some insight, and I wanted to get you on that.
So I mean, there's a couple of, I mean, one thing is, like I hear what the process is. The other part is the secondary trauma that is caused by people continuously viewing this body that's in the street, right? And so that just ruptures any kind of relationship with the police in that community. And so I guess the other question, like with all the scientific advances and like, you know, with things that are sterile, has there been any advances where they can use something that's sterile, that's prepackaged or something like that, to put over the body to lessen any contamination of someone who's laying out in the street?
I think it's really just, to be honest with you, I think it's about procedure. You know, I think this is about something about a bill or a law and policies and procedures that can actually be written in place at the state level, you know, that can really, in my opinion, be more sympathetic to the issues that are going out there. I mean, I agree with you. Why can't we just have a tarp tent that kind of like pops out and you can put that there and it be done with it? And I think that's an option that can happen. But again, these are not things that happen, as I be emphatically clear about that and honest, these are not things that happen at local law enforcement. These are things that are controlled at a state level over law enforcement, over state police even, that is controlled sometimes by state representatives and senators who are enacting this bill. So you can enact a bill that could say, hey, listen, if I punch you in the eye, you know, I have to go now because you fell out and I think you're going to be in a coma. That's going to get treated like, for me, as an officer, now I'm under investigation for a potential homicide. But you can also put in that bill, in the event that you die, and you die on scene, it is the department's responsibility to tarp your body. And we will provide these tarps. One thing that was very unique about the excessive force bill, which I think it was a good bill, you know, is that in the bill, they've had body cameras. And it said that departments had to move to purchase body cameras around the state. There was a $10 million price tag put in there, so you could buy the body cameras up front if you didn't have the money. So what I'm saying is, in that same kind of bill, it could be amended to say that you have to, you know, you have to buy these tarps. You have to have these tarps so that in these incidents, this is the condition that the procedure is tarp. You can explain to the community how that happens. You can create a statewide review panel or committee so that people from those urban centers can be involved on that panel so they can understand and have input and say, no, I think that's a good idea. We should do it under these circumstances, because we had an incident here in New Haven, and I never forget, I live in New Haven, and I was going up, it was a county street shooting. It was County and Munson Street. And apparently a young man got shot to death in his car overnight. And he wasn't found until like 8 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. So this was basically, he had been there for several hours. So because of that, when the police found out, all they could do was tape off the area. You can only tape off, but I mean, you can go black a block, but people are still going to sit out there with their camera. Mm-hmm. And I was getting called by the alder saying, why is there a dead boy sitting in the car with the news and all of this stuff? And we just lost it, you know. So when he started calling up to the state capitol saying so suddenly what happened was we found out that that the New Haven Police Department at least has those tarps. So in the incidents that happens, those tarps go up around the car or it goes up around an area, right? But that's when those are in-house homicides and not a shooting by the police. So we need to think creatively and think about how, like as a professor said, how do we adopt that as a statewide policy for shooting?
Can I ask a question? Let me just ask it. Okay, we're talking about a deceased.
No, I was saying speaking to the mic.
A deceased body. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, because I know you was gonna give me. I know you. But my question is this. Now, from what I saw in some of the videos, now we talk about Bridgewood, but another video, I can't remember which incident this was when the police shooting was and the subject died on the scene. However, the officers that shot the individual that were there on the scene did not just leave that person there. They attempted to address after the threat was gone. They attempted to address the individual to see whether he was alive or dead because he still was moving. Right. You didn't see that in Bridgeport.
So let me be clear. So I'm not here to analyze Bridgeport. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a subject matter expert in community policing and to try to do a early on analyzation of the Bridgeport shooting. For me, one, it would be unprofessional and it would jeopardize my credibility. Right. But I will use Mike Brown, because that's what I just recently taught a course for the FBI to about 85 police and deputy chiefs in this area of New England, and it was exactly on that. It was exactly about what do you do after a shooting, right? Okay. And so you're a firearm instructor. I've been an NRA law enforcement instructor for handgun and pistols for up to 10 years. I don't hold a certification now. All firearms instructing around the country, and I bet my fake gold pin on it, teaches you shoot to stop the threat, bang bang, scan for another threat.
Okay, hold on, just repeat that one more time. Start that, exactly what you just said.
Okay.
Shoot to stop. All.
I would bet my gold pin on it.
That part.
Okay, that's all. My fake gold pin, I would bet on it.
Yep.
That almost all police departments around the country.
Yes.
That teaches firearm instruction for probably all of law enforcement. All of it.
Yeah.
Teaches, if you have a threat, you're shooting to stop the threat.
Okay.
Bang, bang.
Okay.
Scan for another threat to make sure there's not another threat there. And the reason is because when you get into a shooting, you get locked in. And so that's all you see for that moment. And if you don't scan, it might be another threat out there that you get hit by. So you bang, bang, stop your threat, you scan, and then you holster.
And then that's bang, bang, right? Two bangs?
No, that's not.
Okay.
And then you holster.
But I'll trust that.
Right? Okay. And then you holster. Okay. Right? Then after that, most every department in the country, no one knows what happens next. Because if you don't train for next after that, nothing happens. So your normal next is bang, bang, scan holster, I need more units here, I need a supervisor, I need such and such, I need medical, the person's down, you don't want to go near the person yet, because you maybe not been trained to go near the person yet.
Yeah.
You might have been EMS trained, but your EMS certification might have ran out 10 years ago. and the department hasn't retrained you. And if you now touch that person that's bleeding and that person bleeds out, you're worried about, well, am I going to get sued because it looks like I killed that person? I'm already probably in trouble for shooting. I got a whole lot of stuff on my mind. I haven't been trained to do it. But what I have been trained to do is this.
Can I please say
Whether I shoot.
Yeah. We're going to go right
Let me just hit the last part. I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
What I have been trained is this. When I'm not going to shoot you, I'm going to arrest you. And when I'm told to arrest you, it's hand behind your back to cuff you, right? And then I'm going to back away. And then I'm going to let everybody know I've got them cuffed, send me more people. So you've left officers with training with a gap. And that gap is you're under arrest, but I can't arrest you because you're a threat. And now you're a threat, and now you have a weapon, or whatever that case might be. Bang, bang, scan, holster, I'm going to handcuff you.
Okay.
And that's where we keep seeing why is that happening?
Yes.
And it's happening because until we change the national training standard, or we establish one, you're likely to continue to see this to happen.
Yes.
I want to touch on that definitely. Orisha, I've been feeling your energy, so definitely, please.
So,
just speaking to the mic, sis.
very quickly, I'd like to draw the conversation back. You guys are talking about, and I don't mean to say this to diminish anything, but you guys are speaking about national things and things that are going on, and you're speaking in theory. And the point is, in Connecticut, since 2017, there have been at least 11 cases of the police murdering or maiming someone. And the fact that the point that they used was something to do with a traffic stop. Either there was a police chase, the car was stolen. But in the case like Rashamel Rogers and Waterbury, because we're going to name their names and we're going to bring it back to where it needs to be. Yeah. Rashamel Rogers and Waterbury, who the Waterbury Police Department shot and tried to murder, much in the way that Jason was murdered in Bridgeport recently. There was a supposed stolen car that we still don't know whose car it is. Rashamel had the key fob for the car on his body when they put him in the hospital. So how was the car stolen that you have the key? I still don't know. But, and then let's talk about Jason, where we're speaking about if there was a we pull them out and they're bang bang and all of that other stuff. The thing about it is that first the cop said that they were pinned down. So then if the cop was pinned down, how was the car surrounded? And then when the car was surrounded, now we'll never know what the true eyewitnesses said because the police ran in the buildings and took their phones and confiscated their phones on the scene. And this is people that I'm speaking with who have no phone anymore. And shot Jason in the chest. And then we're talking about tarps and all of these things. And the video that I watched, Jason was still moving. He was still fighting for his life. The cop checked his pulse, got up, walked around, then came back. So 42 seconds into the video, he was moving. So I don't understand like this policy and procedure. Like, where is the empathy? You guys are supposed to be civil servants at the end of the day. So and then I'm speaking because you guys just like I'm listening to all of this rhetoric and this theories that you're speaking in, and you're right, a lot of it is policy. But at the end of the day, in Connecticut, you're not supposed to chase people if you really are chasing them, and you're supposed to let them go. There's other ways to acquire your suspect. You do not have to shoot these babies. And then almost every case, these 11 cases in Connecticut, almost all of them are black or brown, and they're 22 years or younger. And Norwalk, Vincent, who we know was Kuda, was chased by the police department until he crashed into rocks. And if you are, if you know that area and Norwalk, the rocks are moved now. Little things like that. And then people were out there, the cops were out there the next day moving things on the scene. So although you say you want to tarp and all of these things, how about let's not shoot our babies? How about let's do that? first. Can we put that in the policy and the procedure?
Can I want to veggie back instead of piggyback. I want a veggie back off of that. Because that's primarily where I wanted to go into. So that's a good segue. Because I wanted to know, now, doing some research, if you take Tamia Rice, if you take Mike Brown, if you take Castile, and I believe there was one more other case. If you take all their times of how much it took for police to shoot them, altogether it added up to 4 minutes.
Right.
4 minutes, 2 seconds for Rice.
Yes, if you look at basically the all gun shootings, they're within seconds. 5 to 10 seconds.
So this is
look at the massacre that happened at the school. That happened in how many seconds? All shootings.
So this is
they don't
those
take
were
minutes.
planned, but those were planned things. So what are you saying?
Well, I'm not saying most shootings. I'm just telling you just.
So this is.
But let's just talk about what we're talking about, police brutality. I need you guys to stop with this rhetoric and because see, this is the thing about it, right? Mm-hmm. When we speak in these theories, we take the victim out of it. You guys need to say their name and put it back into it and stop talking about the boy and the case in Bridgeport and doing it like that because you desensitize our people. I was out there. Jason was murdered at 3, and we need to stop saying shot and these incidents, the police incidents, because you defame these victims of civil servants nationwide. And he was murdered at 3 o'clock, 3:30. And, you know, when we were out on the scene, we were collecting information just like you guys were collecting information. It's just really sad that we're collecting more truth and then we're talking about it and 3 days later you're collecting it and 3 days later you're saying that, oh, no, we weren't lying. Because when we were out there, A.J. Perez said that he couldn't cover the body. And then the next day he said that state policy found out that after a certain amount of time that they could have in fact covered his body. So what that leads is, you guys are speaking about policy and procedure, but your police chiefs, the people that allow these people to come through the academy, you need to do a better process of vetting them because they vet the people that we pay. And it's ridiculous that we were afraid. You're a cop. You're supposed to move through fear. I have to be on the front line and get death threats every day. I have to move through that fear. I don't get to have a whole wall of people to protect me if someone murders me. You guys get to just martial law. I don't have that.
And I just wanted to, and Don, I'll go to you because I know you want to.
Yeah, I mean, if you got something to say, just go.
Well, all right, so I just wanted to, so like you said, you know, those shootings take seconds. However, my question, that's why I said it's Veggie backing off of what she was saying, of being able to say, like, how do we slow this down? How in the training of police officers do we slow down the time that it takes to immediately make the decision to kill?
So I mean, before these folks get to the academy, they're coming through programs like mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're coming to school and joining like a department like mine, saying I want to be a police officer, right? We're a sociology, criminal justice, and anthropology department, and so the people who come there, I'll meet with them on the first day, you know, when we advise, but why do you want to become a police officer? And one of the number one response that we want to get the bad guys and get them off the street. And I'm like, well, who's the bad guys? Right? And a lot of these students are not from anywhere near urban space, right? These are suburban kids who think that the bad guys live in places like New Haven and we have to get them out of there. And so we try to disrupt that narrative. The other thing I'll say, because we can talk more about that, the other thing that we have to think about is, and I've never been trained as a police officer, I've been trained as an infantry soldier in the military, but even with sports, you play how you practice. Mm-hmm. And so if most of your training is on firearms training and military tactics, that's what you know how to do best.
Right.
If you're not trained on de-escalation, you're not going to do that, right? And so that's how we get to the space where we have people getting taken out in seconds, right? Because we can de-escalate situations, but you're not trained to do that. The other thing that we have to do is we have to bring race into this, right? You talked about these being black and brown youth who are getting taken out. White kids can live through police encounters. White people can live through police encounters. So we have to ask the question, why is it that black and brown people seem to die when they're having these police encounters, right? And so we have to talk about implicit bias. We have to talk about the ways in which these things are instituted and infiltrate the system. And training matters, but people have a certain view of the people that they are policing.
Right.
So off of that, Shafiq, we'll go to you. I just wanted to, I looked up policetraining.net. I went up there and just wanted to see what was offered. And I can pull it up even right now. And it has all the dates and of trainings in places all over the country of what they're offering police officers. And for the whole month of May, there is one training offered on de-escalation. One. You would think, off of all these murders that we've seen, you would have more offered than just this one. You know,
if you go to the Connecticut Police Academy website, they have a list of training there.
Right.
And
is it mandatory?
Or is certified? These are certified for certified.
Because I heard you say something about if his EMT training ran out 10 years ago. It's just like when we were out there in Waterbury and Bridgeport, there were so many out of shape cops. They were drinking coffee. They were littering. Like, my whole thing is, like, you guys are upheld to a certain standard. So my whole thing is, if you're not getting de-escalation, they have no ownership to these streets that they're patrolling and policing. And then they're out of shape. And you have a 15-year-old boy who might give you a run for your money. Of course you're afraid.
Because you can't catch him.
Right, or not even that. If they're like, man, what you gonna do with that gun? Because see, that's how our kids talk, because they're desensitized to everything in the world that's really real. So they think nothing is really real, even when they're right in it. And you have a cop who's afraid and out of shape, and the only other thing is to get his bag.
Can I interrupt
well,
you for
I
one
just
second?
wanted to go to Shafiq because I know
Okay.
he was trying to say something before.
So I will say this, I certainly agree with a lot of what's said at this table. And, I've been a police officer for 21 years. I've been in a shooting myself. I've been in a post-death arrest that was very traumatizing. But in 2009, I wrote a book. And in that book, it breaks it down. It breaks it down as far to tell you the fact that Congress has never been able to justify unreasonable use of force because they have not defined reasonable use of force. And last year I went to Washington, D.C., just a block away from the White House, and I was a part of the police executive research firm, which is called PERF, which I'm a member of, and I'll be going back there again on Vegas. And PERF released the 31 approaches to the new use of force. You've probably been hearing about it, or you might have heard about it. And they were actually talking about de-escalation and using other approaches to do this. But because the federal law allows under reasonable use of force and unreasonable use of force still was a hot topic debate. Some wanted the federal government to push to define it. Half the police chiefs there was like, don't even want to talk about it. The other half was like, I might want to mention about it. The ACLU was there. The NAACP people was there. The reason I'm saying this is because I understand what you're saying, sister. What you're saying is rhetoric and is personality. But what I tried to address this is from it's like the Stephen Biko. It's like Nelson Mandela. This ain't a system that we just gonna march our way through. We gotta understand the processes, we gotta understand the procedures, and we gotta be on every level. I go back to, and I just wanna read from here, the Federalist Paper number 23 from December 18th of 1787 that Hamilton wrote. And it says, the necessity of government as an energetic, as a proposed preservation of union gives them the power. It gives every state down to the community its own discretion on how they protect their community. So in the state of Connecticut right now, there's no standardized use of force policy. The way Bridgeport might have their use of force policy written might be different from Bridgeport, Hartford, Waterbury, Torrington, etc., etc. So what that does, it throws people off. Because if you black and you from New Haven, Hartford, Waterbury, whatever, you expecting, okay, well, the police since they work around me and they know I'm poor, they might be a little different, but it may not be no different than if you was in, Sterling, Connecticut. That's number one. And then I'm gonna end with this. There is a problem, and it is racial.
It is.
Because black boys are certainly getting shot at a much more death rate under these circumstances of motor vehicle stop and pedestrian stop nationwide than white males are. But one thing that I have found in my research that is very synonymous about all of this, and this is why I've kind of changed my direction off race, 99% of everybody gets shot and killed by the police that's black is poor.
Right.
And the overwhelmingly majority of black men that get killed in America by other black men are poor.
Right.
So this is a poverty issue.
Yes.
And that is so bigger than a race issue because we right now got black people in leadership all around the country. And they don't want to step up to the plate sometimes until something like this come on and it's a platform and they sitting in the room with the folks that don't look like y'all at the table and they can put that information out there and say, nah, I ain't signing off on that. You know why? You know why I ain't signing off on that? Because this ain't good for my people who put me there. But they're not doing it. So then the trickle-down effect is you sitting here trying to figure out, and everybody trying to figure out why this happening. So I just try to approach it from, we got to know where the policy is rooted in so that we can understand how the law, and I ended with this. When Malik Jones got killed, and I talk about the Malik Jones shooting in there. When Malik Jones got killed, Emma Jones lobbied first East Haven, and then she lobbied the state of Connecticut.
And she didn't stop.
Out of the Malik Jones shooting, Connecticut created a Connecticut use of force. A Connecticut pursuit policy, and it said that every police department in the state of Connecticut must have a pursuit policy that falls within the guideline of the state policy. And if your officer is guilty of the state policy, they're automatically like a guilty of the department policy. And your department policy got to make sure that that officer falls within the Connecticut policy so that you can have that standard. So she standardized, Malik's death standardized the way pursuits are done. So what I've been suggesting, I met with State Representative Robin Porter last week, 3 hours, we were talking. I said, you know what, I'm proposing, let's just standardize policing statewide so that whether you get stopped in the back streets of Sterling, Connecticut, which is up near Rhode Island, or you get stopped on the back streets of St. Mary's Street, right on the New Hallville, New Haven, you know exactly what's going to happen to you.
See, okay.
Okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, let's go to Miranda. I know.
So I lost my brother to gun violence. Okay, it wasn't police gun violence, but it was black on black violence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the devil's advocate side. There's not enough education for the black youth to find out their rights, how to change these laws, what to do, and how to do it. Now, I'm just as angry. I have a son at home as well. He's 12. He's going to be 12. I understand both sides of it. Because if there is no education for these black males that are getting shot and killed, some of these males don't even know how the government works. They don't even know what the legislative is. They don't know who passes bills. They don't know anything.
The people, period, let alone the young males.
But as a whole, we as black people complain about it. But as he said, we're not educating our youth to know what they need to do, how they need to do it, how they need to move. Stop selling these drugs and get your education. That way you will not be a felon and you'll be able to get your gun and carry your gun and protect yourself. That's the other side to it. We can't always just be angry, and we're not doing anything about it. Do you understand what I'm saying? I see both sides of it. There's a lot of stuff about the government that I don't know. But what happened? I went and I opened up the book so I can know what the hell I'm talking about when I talk about it. I'm not just angry because somebody got shot. I'm angry because this law at the top level is not being passed. We're not attending these meetings. We're sitting at home watching Love and Hip Hop instead of bringing our asses downtown, going to the meetings, complaining, I don't like this. Who do I talk to? Who's the next person I need to talk to? And I'm not going to stop until I talk to them. Standing at the scene of the crime, yelling, screaming, that's making us look even more ignorant. Because what happens is those white people, they get together and they find out what's really real, and they go talk about it, and they don't stop until it's done. I'm sorry, we're lazy. Now,
So,
if everybody want to admit that or not,
well, I don't think that that's a devil's advocate position. I think everybody's in agreement that we need to be educating our children and ourselves more in
you
the
can't
aspect
complain
of.
until you educate them.
No, I get that, but I don't.
I'm sorry.
But I don't think that's a devil's advocate position. I think that's the first position a lot of people take. Even in this situation, when I posted it, a lot of people took the position of, number one, it's unfortunate, but legally, based off of the information they had, it looks like it was justified legally. But then also the fact that there's not enough education for our kids of what's going on in government and how to conduct yourself and knowing how the law works and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's a devil's advocate position. Mm-hmm. What I will say is that it's a good segue into a question I wanted to ask you, Pastor Lewis, and you, Arisha, is based off of what we were just talking about with the training and what we need to understand as far as how the government works, how the law works, as a community, how do you feel, number one, we've been responding to these tragedies, number one, and number two, what's the next level other than marching? What's the next level?
Because I'm done with the woe is me, wave
So Pastor Lewis or Arisha, one of y'all can take it, and then I would like to hear from both of you since both of you work in the community in that respect.
Lady go first.
I understand that, bro.
Thank you.
Okay, so it aggrieves me, sister, to hear you speak like that. But I understand why you speak like that. We actually, our goal is the same. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It just aggrieves me. One, because we need to remove some of the stigma about this black on black crime, because see, it differentiates crime, that like it's something different other than what happens between other races in the world. We're taught that it's black on black crime, we're doing it, but in the communities where there's opiates and their faces aren't black or brown and they're white, it's just the same amount of crime. Sometimes it's more derelict in what they do to each other. So it's crime. It's crime.
Crime happens.
But the thing about it is, the way our crime looks is it's because like it's our babies. Like it's like when it's drugs, it's like you're a dope fiend. Like I understand why you did that, but it's like, why are you selling drugs? The reason why we're selling drugs is because when a boy is 15 or 16 years old, he can't just always go get a job.
But
and
that's
he has
the design.
nothing.
That's
Right.
the grand design. That's the whole plan for us not to do that. They don't want us to do that.
Right, of course.
And we're
they
doing
don't.
exactly what they want us
Right.
to do.
And so the thing that we have to do is we have to have some kind of economic revival within our community.
Absolutely.
Like that.
Absolutely. I like that word.
We have to
I
be
like
able,
that.
but it has to look like several different things. You can't just go for the respectable kid that is straight A student and wears the button downs and does all of that. As a matter of fact, because his destiny is most likely aligned, you need to go out here and be like, listen, I know why you out here. I know your mom, she working real hard and you need to bring money in, but how about I do this? How about you work for me? And give them the option. And then when they say no the first time, because of the generation we're in, they're gonna say no the first time unless they really understand and they just needed that one person. So we have to keep going back to them. But as far as what is our community gonna do? Our community is gonna do just that. Like Black Lives Matter doesn't just stand on a corner and holler when our babies are murdered. We out here all the time. As a matter of fact, we was just on the green yesterday, giving out sanitary packs and wipes and food and everything to homeless women because that's what is needed. We're trying to make a community connection. But the thing about it is, when you say we can't just be on the corner hollering, and like you're saying we need to be at these meetings, we at these meetings.
I'm talking about at a state level. Now, I do community work as well. I deal with those that have HIV, Hep C. I'm out in the community. I'm out teaching.
No,
I'm out doing
that.
all
and I'm
of
talking
that.
about legislation because that's where I am. I work in Hartford. I take lunch breaks and go there as much as I can. But what I'm saying is that you have to remember that most of us who really can know about this stuff and who are knowing, where are we at when this stuff is happening? We at work. We at school. So we can't always just go there. It's not just always that easy. What it means is that people, us, who do go, we need to do a better job of sharing the information. And it doesn't always have to look like how it's this respectability thing. It doesn't have to. You have to go out here and you got to meet people where they're at. My son's 13. Like, I DM him. We DM each other. Like, I will text him and he won't answer, and I will DM him on IG and he will answer me back. It's a phenomenon to me. It's crazy. But you have to meet we have to meet ourselves, our family, where we are. And the only way to stop police violence is to police ourselves. But what does that look like? It doesn't always look like running up on a dude on a corner that is out there selling drugs. What it means is cutting off his supply and getting all the 15 and 16 and 17-year-old boys that he gets employs because he doesn't want to get the charges anymore because they can get the charges. We get them and we leave him thirsty because I'm slightly a capitalist when I say, like, everything is supply and demand. So if he has no supply, and, you know, we just have to snatch our babies all kinds of different ways, and we have to educate our babies. I'm all for education. All we do is talk about education, but what does that look like?
Right.
What does it look like?
And outside of your own home, too.
So here for me, for education look like, so I can give you a task if it's something that you'll need to do, because this is my just personal thing. We have a promise program in New Haven, okay? And the promise program says you have to have a 3.0, and then you go to school, and then the school will pay your tuition for free. And it's supposed to, initially when it was rolled out to target African American, Hispanic, Latino boys in the urban center and girls to get them into college. Well, I'm a father, and I'm married 25 years, and I got 4 kids, and they 2 years apart, and I'm on top of them 24 hours a day for them to do their homework. And let me tell you something, to achieve a 3.0 is a lot of work. So most of our kids that we riding hard on, they getting a 2.99, well, you're not getting a promise scholarship. So if we real serious and we really want to make a change, you know what? My 15-year-old kid, your 15-year-old kid, his 15-year-old kid don't need to worry about selling drugs if they got a 2.5 because they going to college. Right. So that 3.0 need to come down to a 2.5 so we can put our boys in school. We can put our young girls in school and so they can get an education. Because it don't do you no good to go to graduate out of college in New Haven only to come back home. That's the kind of stuff we need to be tracking. How many people done graduated out of Hill House or Cross, one of these schools, and black or Hispanic, Latino, or white and poor from New Haven, done went to college, and in a year they back home because they ain't got no money. We need money for our kids to go to school, because you can work 3 part-time jobs as a single parent, trying to piece it together, trying to touch base with your kid, and that ain't enough money. You only got enough money to buy book money for your kid, and your kid in college starving, stressing, sweating, trying to figure out if they're going to make it to the next semester. That's how we're going to change stuff.
Not only that, we're going to also reach the kids that don't want to go to college and not leave them out.
Let's also go to Pastor Lewis. I know you wanted to chime in on that.
What I want to say, simultaneously, all of that is good.
Yes, sir.
We cannot attack one thing, just addressing one issue.
Speaking to the mic, brother.
Attack one issue. We got to support you, sister, in what you're doing. I may not agree with the way that you go about doing what you do, but we need you. At the same time, we need people at the table being able to support and to conversate and say what we need as far as the education is concerned. Because if we don't do it, again, we can sit around and talk about everything that's going on. And for me, right now, I'm in the academy. Right now, we're training in de-escalation with some of the principles that we have in the Kenyan nonviolent de-escalation. It deals with conflict management and rules of engagement, so to speak. And however, at the same time, community policing would be police that look like the community they're policing. But the problem is, we have none of us.
Just so y'all know, I'm laughing because Orisa just pantomimed a shot to the head.
But what I'm saying to you, real talk.
Yeah.
Real talk. Just like Sister was saying right now, you're talking about black on black crime. My question to us is, and it's not an excuse, and I was talking to you earlier, Brother Scholar, I don't make no excuses for what someone do that is wrong. An officer is held to accountability and to serve, protect, and to serve the community. That's his job. That is his duty. At the same time, we as a community have to be able to hold ourselves to a high standard. If it was not, If we were not, again, we can talk about the systemic issue. We can talk about everything that's going on that put us in the condition. But at the end of the day, ain't nobody going to change us except we willing to change ourselves. Well, hold on, brother. The other thing is that, again, why do we have white officers coming into a community like it's a feeding frenzy? It's because the way we conduct ourselves. We got to police ourselves. We got to educate our babies. We got to do black on. They're not ready for black on black love. They're not ready for us to really address one another in a manner that does not result to violence. We got to simultaneously do that. We can do all day long. You can't change nobody feeling the way that they may feel about a black person or a black community. If they hate you, they hate you. They got a job, they come police you. They gonna do what they do. We can't force them to like you. But we can force it on ourselves to make sure that we respect one another, bruh. Respect for life, and that's going to change. Me personally, I'd rather allow officers not to have a job because there's no need for you to come in this community because we good. I'd rather put them out of a job instead of us having to always call on them to come in to address an issue.
Well, I do want to touch on how community policing looks, because I really do want to touch that.
Please, let's do that.
Don, I want you to chime in.
I just wanted to say that, like, we have to get out of using the term black on black crime, because black on black crime doesn't exist.
Thank you, please, thank you.
Crime is crime. Like, people commit crime on people within their local vicinity, right? So when white people commit crime, they're committing crime amongst white people, but we don't say white on white crime. And so when we say black on black crime, it makes it seem that black people are in and of ourselves and inherently violent, right?
Very true.
So the other thing that we have to deal with, which is something that we don't talk about, is trauma, right?
Yes.
And so, like, I'm starting to write a bit about trauma, right? Because when we think about trauma, we talk about the fact that youth, we say that youth are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, right? We talk about the fact that they are experiencing trauma in the same way that a soldier who's in Afghanistan, who experiences war and comes back.
Yes.
However, youth in New Haven are not experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. They are constantly experiencing it, right? The soldier leaves the battlefield. The battlefield for some of our youth is in their living space, right? It's in their neighborhoods. And so we have to start thinking about it. And so there are new theories that are coming out talking about complex trauma, because the students aren't leaving the battlefield.
Who's behind those theories?
Who's behind those theories?
Yeah.
Like those of us who are studying trauma.
Because the reason I ask you that is because years ago, I think it was in the 80s, black social workers realized that the studies that was being done on psychology for black people was being done primarily by white psychologists, and they found out that the psychological approaches that is used by the American School of Psychology do not reflect the ability to be effective towards African American people, and that's why allegedly they started their own association of black psychologists. So I would like to know that whoever's coming with that theory, is that coming from the Black Psychologists Association or not? Because that makes a big impact. Because I would say to you is, beyond the trauma of, forget New Haven, young black boys nationwide are under trauma. I, as a black man who is a police officer, let me tell you something, bro. When I flew to Jackson, Florida. Okay, and I was going to Homeland Security to do some training. I flew to Jackson, Florida. I had to drive an hour from Jackson to Glencoe, Georgia. I took my wallet out my pocket with my badge and had it on the top of that dashboard, driving all the way for that hour. So when I got pulled over by the police and they said license, registration, insurance, I'll be just like this. It's right there on the dashboard. I'm a cop, 21 years. I can shoot the moon out the sky. That's trauma. That ain't normal. I should be on vacation, sipping my latte with the window down. But I gotta think about that.
Or because you're a black man.
No, because I'm a black man.
Every black man has, but every other black man doesn't get to put a badge on the top of his.
But what I'm saying is, but this is what I'm saying. But this is what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, this is not just a trauma, a New Haven thing. This is a black skin thing, especially for black men.
That's where I was going with it, is that, like, when we talk about this trauma, this is not just in New Haven, but I'm talking about New Haven specifically because that's where we are right now, and that's our neighborhood. But this whole idea of trauma exists for you, it exists for you, it exists for all of us, but we don't deal with it. When I was working in schools here in New Haven, is that we don't have the resources to deal with the trauma that people are dealing with. We don't talk about mental health issues.
So where I'm black, here's my thing. That's what I'm thinking, because we always kind of get put on the hook. I was the president of NABLEO, the National Association of Black Law Enforcement Officers, for 2 years. Why don't we hear a group of black psychologists in New Haven getting together and creating a think tank or writing a press document or doing a press conference? Me and this brother, we've been running around the city like chickens with our head cut off for years. Black Man's Think Tank, Gun Violence Think Tank.
That's true.
Everybody want to come down, come on sister, come on brother, this and that. Where everybody at?
So
I mean, real
this
talk.
Is what I'm saying.
You
So
know?
real talk is that, one, how many black psychologists are in here in this area? Two,
how many you got?
But listen. So what I'm saying is, the way I critique the academy as well, I'm part of the academy, but I'm in the community, right? A lot of us get comfortable, we get the PhDs and sit our asses up on campus and don't come into the community. Like, I came from the project during the height of the crack cocaine epidemic, because I know that the people who we consider thugs and all these people, these are the people who protected me and allowed me to get to where I'm at. And so we have to hold each other accountable. Police officers.
Could we put that together? Could you put that together? Could you put together 4 other psychologists together and y'all start tracking data and write some articles and do something? And, you know what I mean? It's so bad.
That's the problem. That's the problem. And then on top of that, we as black people were raised, you better not tell my business. We don't even know how to talk to someone to get that trauma out. We don't know. That's always been told to us. Don't you tell my business. That starts at home when you're a child. Don't you go over there telling my business. So now all of that business that you just seen, whether your father slapped your mother, somebody sold your, what, that's all compartmentalized. And that's what we've been trained to do.
And that's what the black mental health that matters doesn't matter anymore.
I just want to segue into something, because we touched on the trauma. We touched on, the things that we have to do in our home. I remember years ago, Shafiq, you probably remember this, when the rabbi was jumped. You remember that years ago?
Yeah, I remember.
And the rabbi, Huey Newton rabbi, so the dude was like the Huey Newton of the Jewish community.
Right, and they all came together and was like,
and he was riding around with it, guns
but they
out.
got him now, bro. They are protecting
Guns
their
out.
own community.
Like, yo, y'all want to jump our rabbi? Okay. So
they also don't have records either.
But there's a lot
guy with a record.
Yeah, but there's a lot of us that don't. There's a lot of us that don't. So we can't just say that that's the reason. There's a lot of us that don't have it. But there's a lot of us that don't.
Right, and those are the ones that need to be infantry and military.
In the hood, there's a lot of us that don't have records that could carry if we wanted to.
What is the?
I don't agree with that.
There's not a lot of us that don't have records.
I feel there's a lot of us that have records in the hood.
No, but there's a lot of us that don't, is my point. So how does it? Hold on one second, bro. So how does it look? How does it look when we take the same action that he took that don't have records?
Okay, I
know about 20 people right now that don't have records that could easily carry.
Okay, can I say this?
I have a license.
So I can't just say.
About half the people I know have records and they can't carry.
We could easily point out everybody that does.
Right.
However, let's not forget the ones that don't. How does it look if we decided to take the same course of action?
Okay, but wait a minute. Can I say this though? Let's stick with the principle of them coming together. Regardless whether they got a gun. You talking about carrying a gun.
It's not me just talking about that. My point is that the way they came together
and the reason why they came together, because they collectively, before a trauma, before a situation, are engaged in building, are engaged in education, are engaged in unity among themselves, brother. So we go back to the place where we got to now circulate and work with us. That's how that movement's going to look. And indirectly, it's going to look like separation. Indirectly, the whites or those that are in the power structure, when we start to love on one another, when we start to really support one another, they're going to say, well, why y'all doing that? Why we can't come to this? Or what that look like? Right. It's going to look like, but
because
it's a must.
The ignorance around our race, period.
It's not ignorance. It's taught. Like, it's taught self-hatred. Like, if you remember if you remember Malcolm X, God bless his day, his birthday was
the
a couple of days ago. He asked the question, who taught us to hate ourselves?
Right.
And so if you don't love yourself, like when you think about like this so-called black on black crime, if I kill my brother, like some people are starting to look at it as like a form of suicide, right? Because I don't love myself.
Yes, it is.
And I see myself in him. So when I kill him, I'm really killing part of myself because I haven't been taught to deal with or love myself, and all of that is because of this internalized trauma that we're dealing with, right?
But
So
Don,
when
do
we
you
talk
agree
about
we can't get out of each other's way
Can I just
to just have this discussion? Because like we're all debating right now, but when we leave here, I still love her and she still loves me.
Right.
Sometimes people can't mentally even
That's
do
right.
that. They leave here
Well, you
pissed.
need to talk to Scholar, because every time we finish... No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you know he lying.
Well, I just want to say
You know
real
he
quick,
lied.
I love listening to everybody here. I'm enjoying myself, but I didn't want to leave anything. I could listen to y'all all day.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying I appreciate all of you. But why are we here? For accountability, right?
Yes.
Well,
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's think about
Absolutely.
accountability. You know, I think we're putting it on the systems. Okay, when we look at ourselves, we put accountability on the government. I was raised in a single home. Mother didn't have much.
Come on, bro.
My sister was shot. Lakia Vaughn. You know where she was.
Yes.
That was my sister.
Wow.
You know, I grew up, I've seen drug dealing.
Yes,
My
sir.
father was, he
Yeah.
got out of it. I'm glad he did before
Yes,
he
he
passed.
did.
And I've been around all that, all right? But I had a strong mother. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like we putting too much accountability on the government and what they giving us and what they we need money for that, we need
We're
money for that.
beggars?
I had nothing.
No, man.
Nothing.
but you won the lottery.
I won a lottery.
You
Who won the
won the
lottery?
lottery.
Yeah.
How do I
Yeah,
win the
but you
lottery?
have-
but
Hold
you
on,
have
I'm gonna tell you about the
stability.
lottery. No, let me
let me
explain.
say what I'm saying. Like, I mean, because part of it is, and I'm not knocking your upbringing. What I'm saying that what you won the lottery is that you, like, we're one of the people who made it out, right? And so it's on us to do like what you're doing is to give it back and educate it. Because a lot of times when we make it out, like we point to it and say, other people, why aren't you doing it just like this?
Right.
Right? And so I look at it as a lot, not like a lottery, like we won money, but we survived in spite of the system that was designed to make us fail.
You were
So we
blessed.
succeeded by falling through
You
the
were
cracks
blessed,
right.
to success.
And not only
And
that,
I'm not knocking the
No, I know.
It
I'm
sounds like
not
you
knocking
have
that. But what I'm
because you
saying,
had a
it's not
strong mother.
a very strong mother, but you know,
Right.
we believe in a God, you know, like, in grace, you know, and I think everybody has the opportunity. They fool themselves when they're looking at the darkness, because you know what? Nothing good came out of anything that was easy.
That's right. That's
If
right.
it's easy for you, this generation of kids, they have it too easy. They're given stuff. They're not working for anything.
Yeah.
Us here, we work for something.
Right.
But I will say this though, and I'm a pro-government person, so let me just get that on the record.
Before
I'm
you
a
go, can I just say one more
pro-government.
thing? I just want to, can I add one more thing? Just one more
Absolutely,
thing.
brother.
You know,
Yeah.
so I'm talking about accountability with the actual, you know, within ourselves and our families.
In our
Accountability, we talk about
community,
in our community.
ourself, our
So let's
family,
skip
absolutely.
and let's talk about, you know, policing. You know, we're trying to put accountability on police officers, right? Well, that's not who we should be looking to. We should be looking to departments. If you didn't know, there's 106 police departments in Connecticut. Only 28 of them are accredited. 28, where they follow a broad standard of different things.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to call anybody out,
Teach
but
black
New
man.
Haven, Bridgeport, Hartford, all the big cities they're not accredited at all. They don't follow
Now,
a certain standard.
Explain
So-
that to the people who don't understand when you say not accredited and why that's an issue when
See,
it comes to
Everybody who's a police
process
officer, they
of
go through a
tactics.
post standard. We're all required to go through a post standard. But when we're talking about accreditation, you know, you're held to a different accountability because you have other people that are overseeing what we do. And there's everybody from the police association, from the Black Presidents Association, and different businesses. Everybody's coming together and talking about these different things, and you have to get accredited in every single year. You're up for accreditation. You're held to a certain standard. At my police department, I don't want to say where I work, but 3 years before they even talked about cameras, we already had cameras. Why? Because we're accredited. Okay, we want to uphold to a certain standard. We're transparent on what we do, and we have to do things a certain way. State police is accredited. Why you think they're in charge of? Oops, sorry, I'm sweating like crazy. Why you think they're in charge? Thank you. Only your mother would do that. Why you think the state police are in charge of coming in and taking over these different places?
Because
they're
of the bill.
accredited.
Because of the bill.
In the bill.
Because of the bill.
But
That's the
why?
reason.
But why the bills? They support the bill because they
Because
do
the governor
things a certain
signed
way.
it.
True. That is true.
Okay.
But do you not agree though
I got-
that there's only 28
Listen.
police departments that are accredited?
I
There's a
agree
people
with you. I
said
agree
it.
with you,
Hold
but
on a
I'm
second.
just a man. Like I said, I'm a pro-government dude.
Yeah, when you
and I
say
do
pro-government,
facts.
explain.
pro-government?
Yeah,
When I
what-
say pro-government,
yeah.
what I mean is, like he was saying, like, you know, it's not really the government. Look, the bottom line is this. You know, in 1994, Bill Clinton passed the Violent Crime Control Law Enforcement Act. Okay? That was basically the second wave of the war on drugs. We already know from former Hillary Clinton candidate from running for president that former Bill Clinton apologized for how that bill impacted the African American community, which created a dispiriting impact of arrests and incarceration of African American males around drugs as related to sale versus possession. So we can't ignore that. We can't ignore that Pookie on the block with 3 bags of crack got arrested and did 10 years or 5 years for that bag of crack when Bob McGillicuddy, someplace else, got caught with a trunk and got 1 year of federal time, which is a total different time than in the penitentiary that might have been overcrowded. So we can't ignore that because that's 20 years. So my theory is this, and maybe you could help me with this one. I break America down right now into 2 groups. Black people before crack and black people after crack.
But isn't that the grand design anyway?
Black people before crack was one black people. Black people before crack was one black people. We was trying to get justice, restorative justice, a bigger house, a bigger home, college. But when crack came, some split and they went to the crack piece for whatever the reason, whether it was addiction or sale or glory or fame. And then the others toiled through that piece. And then what happened out of that, they had kids. And depending on how you might have failed, you might have luckily failed, your mother might have been a crack addict and you still made it through college and you became successful. But that's going to be a very small number like you're referring to. The ones who was able to maintain probably kept grandma instruct, still had grandma to be grandma with her pension, and grandpa had his pension, and so forth and so on. But now we in a situation, you got 81, 86-year-old grandmothers trying to figure out how they're going to get DCF custody of an 11-year-old great-granddaughter in a poor community that may not have a grocery store, a laundromat, and all of these things, and the hope of getting in college is real. That's a government issue. That's a government issue because when you come knocking on my door saying vote for me and you look black and I give you my vote and then you go up to wherever you go and you don't make sure in those bills and those laws that I have the resources in my community, your government, you're an elected official. That's their responsibility.
Right.
I agree with what you're saying with your responsibility because you're right. In policing, this is a policing theory.
Yeah.
All police in major cities across America follow like a crime stat. So higher crime, you got to put more police over there.
Come on, man.
Right? Because you need to keep that crime down. Lower crime, you put less police over there.
Man.
And if the crime is lower, even in a higher crime area, you change what you do with the police. Instead of being in cars, you put them on a walking beat because there's no shootings. Be on a walking beat, do this. There's no shootings, be on a bike and do this. But if there's shootings, 2 to a car, bang. You do this, you do that. So the way we act actually causes a reaction to the way we are police. And here's the other part, and this is my little secret. Secret in the next book. Okay?
Is this some promo?
Yeah, so why is a Pookie more likely to get stopped and done a certain kind of way than Jonathan McGillicuddy from someplace else? Because Pookie might look a certain way, hat backwards, hoodie, roll the window down, smell like a weed air freshener about to come out the car, right? Yeah, nah, the language might be different. So it sounds like when I do what I'm going to do to you, whether I give you a big ticket, whether you get mouthy and I pull you out of the car and lock you up, when I could have gave you a ticket, when you complain, you're probably not going to complain because you don't know who to complain to. It just stops right there. But if you, as I say in the book, you get pulled over, yes sir, qualify yourself immediately. You're the police officer, yes sir, I'm on my way to college, I have a final to do. Did I do something wrong, officer? Qualify yourself. College student. Oh yes, officer, I'm on the way home to see my mother or whatever. Qualify yourself. You've got to change that dynamic. And you saying what? Let me tell you something. I'm sure you've been in the store and got followed around by somebody and was saying to yourself, why are you following me around in the store? Because you looked a certain way. That's the reality of who we are in America. And the only way we break people out of that stereotype is got to be some kind of signature to change that. Now that's just my theory.
Okay, so the onus on the people, right? And so that's where we get into this whole respectability politics that if you dress a certain way,
right,
that you deserve like to live, and so that's the part where it becomes problematic, right? And so I have this exercise that I have my students do, and I say, what is a criminal? And so they'll come up with all of these things about, what a criminal is, and I ask them to list all of the things that they've done that are illegal. Now in my class, in the sociology of race class, is about 95% white, right? And then I'll tell them to kind of write about things that you have done as a part of groupthink, like going along with the crowd that you have done, but didn't get like in trouble for. and the shit that the stuff that they write.
Right, the first time.
Yeah,
So,
come on, man. It's a fine man.
The stuff
Killing
that
them,
they
huh?
write.
Killing you, you're fine.
I'm talking
Good.
about
I gotta worry about that.
taking cars, underage
Right.
drinking,
Oh, no.
breaking into people's houses to have parties when they go on vacation. Cops are called, but the cops take them home, right? And so the way people
That
are
sounds
policed
crazy to
differently,
me.
right? And so
Right.
it is a government thing, right? And so we can talk about accountability, we can talk about the way that we dress, but
Right.
the way that people don't care what you have on, right? They have this preconceived notion of who you are, and there's certain populations that are policed differently. The other thing that we talked about when you talked about poverty, the thing that we talked about in sociology and in other places is the idea called intersectionality. Right? And so
Right.
you can have these different identities, but the ways in which they intersect determines how you are treated. So it
Right.
means something different to be poor and black and female in America than it does to mean to be poor and white and male, right? How those identities intersect determine how the ways that you are treated in these spaces. And unfortunately, in our communities, that's where the police are. And so where the police are or where the arrests happen, right? And so if you are living in a community that's hyper-policed, you're going to have an increased amount of arrest.
Okay.
Can I
because
just
they-
So-
Hold on, before you,
So where do
hold on
we
one
I know
second.
she had
That's right.
something. I just wanted to
Yeah.
stop her because I was going to support what she was about to say. I felt it.
Okay, so I wanted Orisha to go, but I also want to go into, because we're almost out of time, but I wanted to also go into how we cultivate more police and community engagement
Yeah,
relationships.
that's what
Okay,
I wanted to say.
perfect,
That's what
perfect,
I
yes.
wanted to say.
Let's go there.
We spoke about community policing, and I have several cops on New Haven Force and my family and everything. I've grown up around cops. So, but what does community policing look like right now in New Haven? And I can tell you what it looks like because I'm on the streets of New Haven before Black Lives Matter. It looks like right now when the cops know your name, they'll be like, "Hey, what you doing over here?" Like, they know your name and it's used as intimidation. They know your names, and then that's how they run up and get you when you have warrants. And so that's what the community policing looks like. Or it looks like you giving my child or other people's children, because my son knows not to take anything, candy and pizza, things that are unhealthy for our children, that provide no nutritional value, that have nothing. Then there's also police that will play with our kids on Bassett Street Park, but when they're walking down the street and they're visibly going through something, they harass them. And this is, I'm speaking of people who've come to me and talked to me and spoken to me and told me their testimonies very recently. So that's what community policing looks like. So in the city of New Haven, is a CRB, All Civilian Review Board, that we've been working on and with CT Corps, People Against Police Brutality, and just private residents and citizens of New Haven. And that is along the line, community policing is underway under the Civilian Review Board. And we're getting so much resistance from the police union, who is supposed to be wanting to be transparent and wants to be able to come into these communities and police them safely and de-escalate the situations. And what that looks like is to have a communal relationship and not one based and steeped in fear. That even when I know that my car is legit and that my license is fine and I'm standing in front of my own house, when a cop car comes up and asks me, "What are you doing here?" I don't feel like I'm panicking and be like, "Well, what the hell am I doing here?" Like, and this is me who moves through fear, have these same feelings. So what does community policing look like? We need to be realistic and say what it is right now and what it's not and what it's not doing.
What you got to do is, like I said from the beginning, is looking at trying to get your police departments where you live accredited. Then they're going to have to follow certain. But what I'm saying, though, that's where it needs to start, because that's how you get people to move. And in terms of, I know you were talking about, just to touch on that real quick, in terms of, people having to validate themselves. I don't believe in that.
Right.
Okay, we have a responsibility as police officers to connect with people.
Right.
Have you ever got stopped and tell the police that you was on the job?
Wait, but listen, let me get back to
I'll be honest with you. Have you ever got stopped by the police and said, "I'm on the job"?
Yes, absolutely.
You qualified yourself.
I did qualify myself.
Okay, that's my point.
No, I did.
That's
But
my point.
what I'm saying is, me as a police officer, I don't expect people to qualify themselves just because the way they look or what they drive.
Especially
Why did you qualify
they're
yourself?
fearful as hell.
Then
No,
I'm
but-
like, I'm
Let
not
me
qualified
say
shit. I'm in a
this.
car I paid for.
Wait a
I
minute,
insurance.
but-
Like,
Wait,
Listen.
Listen, I ain't gonna start none. I need
This is the thing. My son's kind of stupid. My son, I gotta keep on reminding. This is. I just want. I'm gonna come to what we talking about. You know, the qualification.
Speak
but
the truth.
my son, I gotta tell him not to wear a red shirt. Not because the red shirt don't look nice, son, but unfortunately the condition that we in is real out there, and
That's right.
you might get tagged at somebody not being at a place you shouldn't be.
That's right.
That's amongst his own peers.
That's right.
We are in a state right now in our society where unfortunately it's bad. And so no matter how we want to fix it, and we still interacting on this level right here and not going to change policies and get rid of procedures and all of this stuff and get the accreditation, in the meanwhile, it's real.
Yeah.
And so we got to address things on the level where they're at. Now, I'm not saying that it's right. Hell, I don't want my son to have to change his attire because of some foolishness that I think is wrong.
Absolutely.
But until we are able to address the issue and start to get a segue here, we got to protect our babies the best way we can. I tell my son, if an officer pulls you over or you talk to him, you cooperate with what he got to say. If y'all got a cell phone, turn it on and record everything, because I'm not there. Well, and even though he might do that, he still might get killed. He still might get murdered. But what should we do? Hell with you, officer. Now, I ain't giving you no information. What you, to agitate the situation more?
No,
I'm
but
not.
who says to do that? Okay, but
No, but wait a minute, let me finish. So all I'm saying is that, once again, with the sociologists and everything that we're dealing with, talking about accountability, credibility, our leadership in our own black communities where the violence is, that's who we need to address. Those are the ones
But
that
why
are. So
are we
wait a minute.
addressing them
Hold on, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
though?
Hold on, wait a minute.
I thought this was about
Wait a
police
minute, wait, it is,
though.
but what I'm saying, but the reason why it is because we in our own community need to address them leaders that sit at the table with the governor, with the other leadership, who are getting paid off, who are getting money in their pocket and not really bringing our issues to the table.
So if you know who these people are, this secret society that we keep having, because see, the thing about it is I'm at these meetings. I take off from work. I work in homelessness, which is super important. It's just as important as police brutality. So my whole life is this. This is deep within my soul. So what you're saying is that you're connecting any meeting that I can get to.
Meetings that I'm talking about, I have not, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be, but the meetings that I'm talking about, that I've been at, where all this crap is, that they don't even like me to be at, because they don't like me to be at the table, is the meetings that I'm saying that you should be at, the ones that sit down with the mayor, the ones that got grandma and ma in their congregation, the ones that, because right now, really, their connecting piece of the government is not through the community, it's through the churches,
why do I need to
and
go
through the
sit
religious
down
organizations.
Why do I need, see, the thing about it is you still centered on the fact that I need to go to a person who's already displayed that they don't give a fuck about me.
No, I didn't say that.
Let me finish.
I said
simultaneously. Let me finish.
That's what I said.
Because when you're sitting at the table with these mayors and these governors,
out in the community,
when you're sitting at these table with these mayors and these governors, and you leave the table
and go to my community,
right? Do you go to your community?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yes, you do what?
I go to my community, interact with my community.
No, but that's not what I was about to ask you. That's not what I was about to ask you.
But you're
saying
that's
not what I was about to ask you. Let me finish.
Let's go to what you were about to ask.
But what I was going to ask you is, are you helping? Because see, the thing about it is, when I don't see you at the same meetings that you don't see me. I don't see you at the meetings that I'm at, and you don't see me at the meetings you're at. Why? Because it's like 7 of us.
No, I said right.
And we're trying to, you know what I'm saying? Why? No, because it's so many of it's the Jay-Z line is not pliable here. It's less is more. It's not plenty of us right here. So But do you call me, Pastor Lewis? We see
Yes,
that.
I have.
Pastor Lewis.
I have called you on numerous occasions.
Right, but have you texted and been like, listen, I was just at the meeting with the mayor.
No,
and she said
what I said, you should come to me at this meeting.
Listen, but I don't have time to come.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Unless you're telling me what I'm coming for. Because if I know where I can
maybe
be
that can
at
happen on the
another...
sidebar, because that's a little, just,
Well,
just real quick.
yeah.
What are we doing as police? So your next question is, do the police all across the nation, and specifically here in Connecticut, do we know there's a problem? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And we do, and there's trainings because of that.
Well,
and it's called
here's
fair and impartial policing.
But
I'm a trainer of that.
Okay, but is it mandatory? And is it ongoing?
Yes, it is. It's ongoing. I
Not
go
mandatory.
around. It's not mandatory, but it's a part of our recertification.
But see, that's the problem I
teach.
have. How do we? And I'm sorry to, because I
haven't
really
been
want
to
to.
New Haven yet.
Because I really want to.
Trainers over there.
It's
Man, New Haven needs a whole...
So and the only reason why I want to really make sure we focus on this is just because this is where I feel a lot of times we don't focus enough on is what the cops are not learning.
Right.
And I say because it's not mandatory. And like I said, when I went online and I'm looking at policetraining.net, it's rarely offered.
Well, you can't.
There's
I want to do the .net.
I'm just
go to Connecticut Post.
But
I'll go to that one because that's where it has all the training.
But even with this alone, it's not a lot. I know Boyce Watkins and the Root also had had some information that they shared on the fact that it's not offered. There's a brother named Derek. I'm forgetting his name right now. His last name I don't want to say Coleman, but that's exactly what I wanted to go to. However, he offers de-escalation training, and he said that it's rare. He said even in Georgia alone, only I think there was hundreds of police precincts that he offered it to. Only
It's not
2.
mandatory.
But here's the thing.
And see,
It's not mandatory. I put out there. It's not. I'm going to a conference in Las Vegas next week, and it's the Perf conference. And again, it's to go back again and talk about how do we kind of get this stuff back online. Do police chiefs nationwide know there's a problem? Absolutely they do. Do police officers recognize that there's a problem? They absolutely do.
And they do understand that the problem is not necessarily about, because you can take a test and be good.
That's right.
Like, okay, let me just pass this. I want to know, like, if you choose to take the position of service for my community, and you're choosing to open yourself up to more than just taking a test, I want to know your political beliefs. I want to know what you do. What are you, when you're at the dinner table, how are you perceiving the people that you're actually serving when you come from out of town and come to my city?
So what you're asking, so what you want is, so I think what we want, at least what I would want, because definitely, is I would want policing industry to revolutionize itself.
Absolutely.
Right?
Revolutionize the whole.
A revolution
Yes.
is a revolution, and the concept of revolution revolution is also very destructive. It is very immediate. Policing, because of how it is established within our constitutional core, is not going to be a revolutionary change. It is going to be an evolution, and that evolution is going to be based on how we all impact it at different levels. And so it's coming, right? But I'll go farther and say, and I say this with confidence, there's no one definition of community-based policing in America.
Right, no.
Community-based policing,
based on that community.
community-based policing is a concept. Like if I was to look at you and say, I love you, and I look at you and say, I love you, and look at you and I say, I love you, it means different things to, not only does it mean when I say it to you something different, when you take it, it means something to you even different. That is how complex the concept of community-based policing is in America. So now our new challenge is, how do we get somebody in government to define it and say community-based policing must fall within this criterion and it must look like this in order for you to even say your department is
I don't think the government, I don't think it
though.
has to be up there
Right.
like that.
I mean,
the
every
community you're
community's
serving
different.
should have to have say on that.
Right.
What they want from the
Right.
Absolutely.
Everybody
Yes.
needs an all-civilian
Just real
review
quick,
board.
when you think about the entire, the nation, and you think about Connecticut, how do you think we're doing between that other side of the world and
why?
here. No, I'm just
Well,
curious.
let me say this. I don't
Because I
think.
think there's a I think no, because I want to have that conversation.
But I don't think
Scholar.
I don't think it has to. I don't. And when I say the force aspect, I don't look at just the shootings.
Right.
I'm talking about
Thank you.
No.
how quick do you make the decision to go to physical force, or do you take other methods and
There is
ways
not
to
only
deal
that,
with
what
it?
about
it's not just about de-escalation though, because that's just half the battle. We don't even.
Well, there's also
we don't want things to
there's also
even. We don't
social
want things to even
emotional
get. No,
learning
but
skills.
we don't want things to get there. Like you,
Right.
if you don't, if I know you, I want even if I know people that are criminals. I don't have problems with them when I want them to do something.
But what if you don't? Not
Because I have a
everybody's social
relationship.
emotional learning skills are at the same level. Some people don't have the social intelligence.
So
and they
how
have
do
to
you
be
weed
trained.
that? How do you weed that? One of
So
the things you
it's the
said.
contact
Hold on, wait a
theory,
minute.
but-
One of the things
so-
you said. One of the things you said earlier, and you said that how do we, as far as community policing, what does that look like? When you have an individual, I saw a video that was so disturbing to me. There was a black officer, Italian officer, and the black officer got knocked out by a young African American male. Knocked out. The Italian officer was trying to wrestle the guy. He was throwing her all over. The officer woke up, didn't kill him, went and grabbed him in the best way that he could and wrestled him to the ground. Okay? He did not kill that young man. Because psychologically to me, that could be my nephew, that could be my son, that could be somebody visually identified with. When you have individuals coming into foreign land that have no real emotional connection,
They don't
no
identify with
visual
who they're
connection,
serving.
so what I'm saying, there's nothing there for me to say I ain't gonna kill you, except my morals if I got any. But visually, that ain't gonna happen. Another incident, young lady, white or female, driving a car, ran into the police officer. The police officer shot at the car. The car flipped over. The lady was drunk, white female. The officers approached the car with the gun, put the gun in the car, pulled her out the car, and tried to administer to her the best way they could. And they were all white officers, and that was a white female. So when you talk about the social aspect, when you talk about what is it like that you need people, because the only way you're going to really get to the place, and de-escalation wouldn't be an issue if we had people to identify with the people, their community, their police. When I was coming up, we had more black, and I believe, as far as I'm concerned, when back in the 80s, we had more black officers.
They were housing. Actually, back then, they were in New Haven had housing in the housing project.
Well, whatever it
they had
was.
their own separate police force.
Yeah.
And those were all.
Well,
black.
I'm trying to tell you, the interaction I had with them was totally different than what I'm having with these officers today, who they can't identify.
Well,
with.
here's the thing, just because you have black officers, that don't mean they're going to handle the situation.
I'm not saying that.
Right. Oh my God.
Like,
Yes,
it
yes,
doesn't,
yes.
it doesn't matter at all. I mean, we're talking about all these snapshots we see. There's a lot of stuff that we don't see that happen
I
every day.
believe that.
Because I see a lot of stuff that
I
see white officers that do more than what you can never
I
imagine for
believe
people
that.
before and after and during incidents.
That's right.
I believe
Well,
that.
And people don't see that every day.
But they're supposed to do that. They're supposed to.
No, but they don't have to go.
They don't have to go
buy
above
groceries.
and beyond.
But this is
Why? They take an oath.
But this is
No, they don't take an oath to buy groceries.
for somebody.
They don't take an oath to buy
You're a
groceries.
community servant.
But-
You're a community
I mean, no, they
servant.
don't.
I buy groceries for
That's
people.
not true.
I don't care.
That's not true.
That's not required.
I definitely do buy groceries.
So when we talk about what police do, right? We say we don't see it. Clearly, we know that all police officers aren't doing this,
Right.
right? But they represent a system that is doing it,
Right.
And when you have officers that are not telling on the other officers,
Okay,
all
but
of them are
that-
complicit.
but that's false too, because that's
listen,
what
one
we
thing-
hear.
Yeah,
That's not 100% true.
No, it's not.
Because
But
you
what I'm
don't
saying-
hear
but-
about all the people that get fired.
But what I'm saying is
You don't hear about it.
But listen, but what I'm saying is perception becomes reality for people
That's
in the
correct.
communities that they're dealing with.
Exactly.
And so in one of my classes, there's one white student, this female student, said, Professor Sawyer, why do black people not like the police? And I was like, I don't think it's that black people don't like the police. I was like, well, tell me about the police in your neighborhood, right? And so she said that the police in her neighborhood come to her dad's Super Bowl party. They come to his barbecues.
Come on, bro.
Like they're the coach of the soccer team in that community.
Yes.
And I was like, well, in the community that I grew up in, the police, this is during the crack cocaine epidemic, would throw us up on the wall, dump up our book bags and stuff like that. They weren't our coaches. They didn't come to my pop's barbecues in the park and stuff like that. And so the interactions that we have are different. And so when we talk about community policing, that shit is going to look different no matter where
and where
we are.
Not only that, the Waterbury police, last summer, I went to a Black Lives Matter rally that the Waterbury Police Department put on at a church. And the black police chief got up in front of the whole community. The church was packed. It was standing room only. And he held the blue book that has all the traffic stops, all the traffic violations. And he stood up in front of the crowd and said, it doesn't matter what we stopped you for. We can find something in this book to say why we stopped you. That was community. That's how he polices his community.
I know Riddick. I don't know. I don't.
That's the law. This is what I'm gonna do.
No, but
you can change that for code. That's your free copy. I'll get you another one. Because that's just the reality of the law.
But let me finish saying what I was saying, because see, the simple fact is, he put an instant fear. And everybody that was in that community, it was murmuring. It was because he told his community that it doesn't matter where we stop you. And the reason why Black Lives Matter is doing a ground zero in Waterbury on July 17th, was because of the simple fact that as single residents, everyone I know that gets arrested from Waterbury, when they leave, they can get arrested for child support, they can get arrested for a traffic stop. When the nurses, the doctors, they know when they're coming from Waterbury because they're beat up. It doesn't even matter. That's after the de-escalation, after he got the handcuffs on him, after he was in the car.
Are they following
he's
complaints?
Still getting.
Are they filing complaints on internal affairs?
Do you know how in Bridgeport and New Haven, internal affairs is still logged?
Are they filing complaints with CHRO
internal
at the state
affairs
level?
is still logged by pen and pencil.
Okay. Are they filing complaints with the CHRO?
When you file a report, what happens? I filed an internal investigation when I was beat up by the cops. No one ever called me. No one ever called me. And when I went back. When I went back and I asked them where I was supposed to go, that's how I learned the system. I went everywhere.
Well,
I went to and I was turned away.
You go to CHRO at the state level. It's also in the use of force bill. You go to CHRO and you can file your complaint there as well and follow up. This is what I found. So I'll tell you my little history. When I came back to New Haven in 1991 after going to school in Georgia, after growing up in the projects and up here in Westville, I did not like the police. I had no intentions of being a police officer. When I came back home and I moved back to New Orleans, I saw my friends selling crack. I saw my friends killed. I saw all these abandoned houses. I actually came downtown to find out what the hell is going on and what happened in New Haven. And I found myself being the only black man standing out there trying to figure out how they're going to collapse the board of the building department with LCI at the time, and landlords coming saying, I'm sick of these monkeys tearing up my apartment building and nobody around there doing that. And after I tried to search around the New Orleans Corporation, go find a guy live up on the top of the hill and ain't affecting him, I said, you know what? I'm getting tired of having the same conversation with people. So I said, you know what, maybe I'll do something different. Me and Mike Jefferson, I put him first inside the community. We had a show like that. We put together the All Civilian Review Board Against Community Policing. Me and Mike put that together. We was the first to put that together. After Malik Jones got killed, Emma Jones, she picked up the mantlet of that and moved forward. And then Tony Dawson started it on that side. And then you had two groups, and then they started clashing. Once they started clashing, it kind of fizzled down. But in the meantime of that, I said, you know what? I'm going to become a cop. And I became a cop. And I tried to change some of that stuff from the inside, because I realized on the outside of this, and I'm not taking away from anybody that march, because we need marchers.
We don't just march, though.
I'm no longer a marcher, but I will say this, and I will give my suggestion to you, as I actually did meet D. Ray McKenzie right downtown and had a good conversation with him when he came. I will say this.
Because he's a sellout. So.
Yeah, I will say this. If we're going to march, let's make sure people are registered to vote. If we're going to march, let's
make sure when we're registering them, they understand what they're voting for.
No.
And make sure out to vote, and not to just vote Democrat.
Okay, make sure that they register to vote. And in that group, run somebody. run somebody against an altar in the city.
And the thing about it is, if you ran me, your police academy is gonna secretly go behind and tell the mayor you can't let her do that. You can't, because see, the thing about it is you can listen,
complain.
Listen, don't that whole
My
rhetoric.
daughter is 16. My daughter was attacked last year by not one, not two, not three, but 4 kids, including a guy, on video, okay? One of them was 18 years old, okay? So I called, I did everything I was supposed to do, talked to the chief, whatever. I got pissed off. So what I did, and I'm going to say it now because I can't get in trouble for it, is that the 18-year-old, I whooped her ass, okay? Like a 39-year-old woman. You want to touch mine? I'm going to whoop your ass. And then I also went to each one of those people's houses with a crowbar, because that's my daughter. And I'm not about to sit and keep calling and doing all this. Nothing is being done. I watched this girl jump on my daughter's head, and they did nothing. So I took the matters into my own hands. I bet you when my daughter goes to the Hill now, she has no problem, because they know her mother's not playing. She's not playing with a... But I shouldn't have to get to that, because I don't have a record. I don't have a record. I'm out in the community all the time. Okay, my face is known. But when it came to my child, I will kill behind mine without thinking. And that's the anger level
Right,
that
and
we
when you go and file a
that?
complaint, the cops look at you and laugh at you like you have the like.
I was treated as if I was a ghetto mother.
Right.
Okay. Now don't get the face confused, because I can wear, like Don said, I can wear whatever. But when I opened my mouth and I spoke to those officers, I told them what I did. They were fine with it, honestly. Because there's too much going on for them to even do the job. I shouldn't even have to go to somebody's house with a crowbar. I'm sorry, I shouldn't.
Not when you know the address and you told the cops where the
I
address
watched the
was.
video. Chief Pastor watched the video with me and still did nothing.
I think my question...
That's why I took what you said just right here. It doesn't matter. That's why Miranda took it into her own hands, and I made it matter. I made it matter.
But I guess my question is, I mean, and all of us, again, I think I heard Sister say that we got different ways of getting to it. We all want things to be better. Am I correct?
Yes, all of us.
I want you to finish your point, but starting with what you're about to say, I want to leave on solutions and actions that we want to suggest for the community that's actually
this needs to be given to every black child.
I also want to go over this.
Where can we get that?
So go ahead, John. We'll start with you, and we'll go around this way.
So I just want to say again, all of us are here together. I am willing to work with whomever. I'm willing to do whatever we need to do to move this forward. I can't do what some of y'all can do. I'm not on. I ain't got 10 toes down. In some of the places
somebody was watching my life.
No, of course I'm listening.
People lurk. People lurk.
No,
Yeah.
I watch. I'm watching.
They won't.
Okay, I got to stay in that sense. So, in whatever way that needs to be done, I'm also again putting pressure inside of the department and making sure that
they don't
are
like that
accountable.
either.
But that's okay. I'm good with that. But infiltration, y'all, please. This is a movement, not a moment. People that want to have a moment are selfish. People that understand movements are personally committed no matter what it takes. Okay, we going to get through this and we going to make sure it happens. But we got to be on one accord. I ain't got to agree with the way you do it. But I got to work with you, though, because we got the same issue.
Let's believe Stokely did not agree with Martin on everything.
Right. So what I'm saying, and I say this today, and Malcolm and Martin is necessary. The strategy of both of them to blend together, we never experienced that. But indirectly, it's on the floor right now. You have that on the floor right now. The question is, where do we go from here?
So why don't we go to that, and then let's move to the next person to provide those solutions as well.
Yes.
Yeah, you can continue your solution. You're about to go into your solution.
No, I gave it to you. I'm saying I'm available. Whatever that is. Right now, we're in the academy, working with the police, or we're in the high school.
What's your organization?
It's called the Connecticut Center for Nonviolent Reconciliation. One thing that we're doing, we're working with our kids to teach them how to manage conflict. Number one. Also, it's a code of conduct. At the same time, we have a training for the police officers that help them have community engagement. Okay, and also now with the passing of the ambassadors program, putting some fire under the clergy, under the religious organizations, because really that's where we need to really address also, because those organizations meet every week, once a week, every Sunday. We need to hold them accountable.
How are you teaching them community engagement? Is it like, hey, go by the neighborhood?
No,
and
brother,
play
so
ball?
everyone.
really, you know what it
So
is?
you can arrest them.
Instead of you getting information, you need to have interaction.
Right. So
Okay?
how does that's
so
what I'm asking? How do
again,
you-
a lot of them don't and never probably even engage with blacks or those in the black community.
So what do
Again,
you
I'm not
push them to do?
We have training exercises, modules. We have
What does
people
that look
from the
like, going into a
community.
black
But that's what I'm
We
trying to
have people
figure
in
out.
the community
Is that what the
that
training
come
is?
into the training. We have the youth that live in the community that are a part of it.
So what is it? Is it like, look, go through
No,
the
sir.
bill and
Hug us,
talk
black
to
man?
No,
right, like,
no, that
how does
don't
it
work,
look
bro,
like?
because what it is, they got biases. We all got biases. They got to face their own biases. They sat home, they go home, and you're not trying
Okay.
to change their bias. What we are telling them, you have to be accountable to manage your bias, and it doesn't spill over in your interaction with that individual
Got
that
it.
you already demonized
Got
them.
it.
So you're gonna have to check that.
Okay.
If you're looking to do, and if you don't want to be, you got to really look at yourself and say, is this a job that I really want? Because we gonna hold the fire to you to make sure so you can't say, like I got accosted by an officer that didn't know who I was,
Right.
and that's when Esterman was there. He got rid of the officer, but I dressed him appropriately. I was mad as hell. Number one, I wanted to have a selfie moment at that time, but what I thought about, I need to get inside this because this was a rookie officer, a white officer, dealing with a black kid he sprayed and telling the kid to act still and act sane. So let me finish.
No, I'm
so my point is that instead of me having a selfie moment, I wanted to get inside and infiltrate the department and deal with those officers before, being that we ain't applying, so why not have a voice to them or interact with them and bring them to an understanding of who they policing.
Okay, so one more time, the name of your organization?
It's called the Connecticut Center for Nonviolence.
And if anybody wants to get involved, they can just hit them up and get involved.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on the website.
Officer Shafiq, I definitely want you to, and I want to implement your book in this moment too.
So thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
For all the guests that were here, and I appreciate all of the work. God bless us for all of the work that we are doing and all the work that we have yet to do. My approach, I'm approaching 21 years in law enforcement, God willing, in about another week. And I was going to retire last year, and I was going to retire this year. And then my 16-year-old, following some stuff he saw on Facebook, which was the 15-year-old boy shot in Texas, hit by the rifle by the officer, and a hanging that he saw on TV, and then the shooting in Bridgeport. I took it as really a sign from God that I need to stay where I'm at right now. And I don't have time to get into all the stuff that I do, but one of the things which I did do is I wrote that book, and I had a conversation with my son just the other day. And I said, I'm really disappointed and I'm sad that this book is almost 10 years old and people are having a discussion about these same issues. And he said, that's because the issue is so relevant, it will never go out of topic. And so for me, that's like, well, damn. You know what I'm saying? I'm a black man, I'm Muslim, I'm a police officer, I'm an author, I'm a writer, all of that stuff. Then I gotta do it then I gotta do what I gotta do. Because I'm not looking around, like I've never really looked around for nobody else to do. So my approach to this is, I think, and this is my call, especially the officers, whether they're black, white, or Hispanic, step up to your leadership. Don't make it about getting an extra duty job and getting the extra money, or all the accolades that come with being a police, because those things are going to fade. Approach this job like a legacy. What is the legacy you're going to leave behind? Leave behind another officer that you train on how to do this job in a way with compassion, and consideration of other people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't police other people like they want to be policed. I police other people like it's my child, like it's my wife, like it's my mother, like it's my grandmother. That's how I deal with people. And that's a simple philosophy I think that anybody can embrace. On the back end, we got to educate ourselves, because where we are as black people, and this is just my opinion, what we're looking for, it's going to take intellectual knowledge. It's going to take us writing books. Why we only got one book about what to do when get stopped by the police? Why we ain't got no book about something else? About raising a black child, raising a single black child, raising a black daughter who might have a complex about the way she looks. We're not writing. We're not putting out articles. What we're doing is, and I hate to say it, we all up on Facebook, liking people's posts and searching videos and all that other stuff, when we could be writing manuscripts. Yeah. It don't take long. When I started publishing books, I couldn't even get nobody to publish that book. Nobody would publish it. I sent it to Harper and Row, all the presses, all of the major presses. They sent me back a thing and said, why don't you change the name to an urban man's guide to law enforcement in America? I was like, what the hell is an urban man's guide? So I dug in my pocket, I pulled out $4,000, I started my own company, and I published my own book.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And it's out there, and it ain't a promo. I got another book coming out probably this week. I just got to finish off the last piece that deals with another big issue around the way police approach people when it comes to terrorism. And this particular book really focuses on that, and it deals with ISIS and how this concept of terrorism and ISIS has now incorporated this concept of African American terrorism. And I'm talking to that. So I think that the key is to this. I think you should do this every 2 months. Bring people together and really, and walk away with the solution. I think brothers like him, if he could start, a black psychologist think tank, and get on that trauma piece and start documenting and publishing stuff, I think those are solutions. And I've taken some notes myself to go back and, in my respective department, in the areas that I sit, to do some tweaking as well.
Just so the people know, are you also offering a service where you'll come into the classroom, the church?
I've been doing that.
You've been doing that.
Yeah, I did it with NAACP. So I come in.
So everybody knows that if you want to get some schooling on this right here, whether it's for your church, for your home, for the school, all of that. Let's make it happen. Yeah. And actually, next year for my school, because that's the one beautiful thing about what I do as far as with the Future Project, I can do stuff during the day. I'm so tired of having to do it challenge after school. Kids don't want to stay after school. A lot of times I gotta, get them to do that. But when it's during school, that's way more beneficial, because now it's like you there, you can't even escape it. I can have all of y'all. So this is something that I can use.
And just as a piece, if there's I don't know if y'all seen a document, Color of Words. Yeah. It was done by the Juvenile Justice Department, United States Juvenile Justice Department, and they actually based the documentary on the book. It is about, they call it DMC, Disparative Minority Contact. I mean, that's just a great video. Okay. Really, it's just knowledge, like a little less than probably what I gave, but in a much more better format. Because what I give is more technical, but it's just really knowledge, and it speaks to that it is about Connecticut, and they do the study, and they say that in Connecticut, when an African American child is stopped by the police versus a white child, they're more likely to go to jail, and the white child is more likely to get a misdemeanor summons, and that's why you see this new bill that's called Raise the Age was introduced by actually Mayor Hart at the time she was a senator, along with Tony Walker Edmonds, who was a state senator. They were the ones that actually made it now where you, at 18 years old, you can still get a misdemeanor because you don't have to go in a wagon, or you don't have to go into the downtown to get arrested anymore, because it was just killing you. It takes away from your opportunity. Yeah. So I suggest that video as something really good. I actually have it on the website and a YouTube page. And I'm open too, man. Whenever you need me, absolutely, I'll do whatever I can do as time permits.
Yeah, as soon as I asked him, he was like, "Yo, I'll be there." Jamal, let's go to you.
So, I don't really have. I mean, I have. There's a lot going on here, and I love that you guys are entrenched in the community, trying to work But I still got a family too that
No
I'm
doubt.
trying to raise, you know, in love on, because my wife, she probably wondering where I'm at right now. So, but
man.
I just
you know where you're at.
Yeah, I'm on video.
There's a
I'm
lot
on
of
video.
You got
Yeah.
you covered.
You know where you at.
You got an alibi.
He's on Facebook.
Yeah, but what I try to do, if you friend request me, you can just friend request me. I'm just heavy into our youth. Okay, I can only speak to, you know, to the crowds that I speak to. You know, I'm trying to get into every school, 8th grade school right now, talking to kids about decision making.
Yeah.
I work with young cadets. I started a program 8 years ago. I'm still doing it. My son is involved in it. I head over to Manson Institute in Cheshire. So I'm just trying to just touch on anything I can touch. And as far as policing, my responsibility, because I am an instructor at my police department, we're trying to gain, you know, confidence back from the community, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and that's our main focus.
Yeah.
I don't know what people are hearing, but that is our main focus in our department. We want to get that. We want to have some procedural justice for everybody, and it's a hard job. It's a scary job, and to think nobody. I wasn't in the military. I never had to use death force on somebody. I pray to God that I don't have to, because I'm going to be a part of this discussion.
Right.
They don't know me. They just know that I'm another officer. She coming for me. She coming for me.
Mhm.
So I pray to God that I never have to. But a lot of times, the officers can go through 20, 21 years and not ever even have to pull their weapon. And that happens more often than you think. So I think that one of the things that I'm trying to push for is more police departments becoming accredited. That's not the total answer, but that's just one.
Okay.
Another thing I would like to see is the summonses being, instead of in custody, of arrest, we have to take people for BS sometime.
Yeah.
For larceny 6, larceny
Right.
5.
Right.
I gotta
Seriously.
take you, and now, like, good thing I have good communication skills. Sorry, that I never really had to put my hands on anybody. Right? Maybe a little bit because of my size, but I'm gentle with people and I'm respectful to people. But for the most part, I just wish we didn't have to take so many in custody. You know, give them the summons. Because really, if you really don't know, every arrest is supposed to be by warrant. Taken into custody is just an exception.
Is it true if I'm uncomfortable,
It's just an exception to the
if I'm being pulled over and I'm uncomfortable about where I'm being pulled over at, can I go to where I am
Just
comfortable
put your blinker
legally?
on.
No, do not do that.
No.
Do not do that.
Black
No,
man in
No,
the
I'm
neighborhood.
listen,
Real.
I was told.
You go to where you're comfortable?
This is no, listen.
Comfortable is
do that.
home for me.
Listen.
In my
Listen.
driveway, officer.
Exactly.
Let me just be clear. On Facebook, there was multiple people who said that.
Who? Cops?
No, they weren't cops. That's my point. Is that but they were in other states too, though.
Don't do
And they
that
said
nowhere.
that when they got pulled over, it was a deserted area. They didn't feel comfortable, so they went to an area where it was crowded.
More light and more
And that,
people.
and that's where and I'm like, I don't think you can do that. And they were like, yes, you can.
But I'm a
No.
strong encouragement.
Okay.
I mean,
No, I'm not gonna
what
do
if that
it.
place is 4 miles away?
Yeah.
That's a pursuit.
Yeah.
No doubt.
What
That's
is
what
5
I'm-
miles? I've been in a pursuit that
That
was
was
5
my
miles per
argument.
hour, okay? I mean,
Huh?
it's high, that's why it was 5 miles per hour.
Huh?
That's not for you.
No, I know that was my. Well, these
That's
I don't know what state they were at, but
You gotta
Or Biff Jones.
I thought it was ridiculous. And
No,
I
because we have artificial lighting.
Okay, no doubt.
We do.
Right.
We light everything up. There's gonna be enough light.
All right, so Orisha, let's go to you and your solution-based approach.
My first solution for you is to come to Waterbury on June 17th. Like Black Lives Matter New Haven page, email us at blacklivesmatternewhaven@gmail.com. We are Black Lives Matter on Twitter. You can also find me, Arisha Allah Akumar, on Facebook if you want to have a more personal approach. And come look for us because so we don't get infiltrated. We're not letting everyone know where we are going to be on the 17th in Waterbury exactly yet. But
See, that's where the don't snitch came from. Don't let everybody know where we're at.
Yeah, because we've learned we're learning fast. I'm learning real fast. Our last action got totally infiltrated by and it turned out to not be for the community, although it was supposed to be. So we're very protective of the community. We serve the community. We are true civil servants. What I would say, like the beginning solutions would be, firstly, our community needs to come together and separate from the materialism that we have and the excuses that we give ourselves as to why we can't get off the fence. It's super hard to get out there, and everyone does not The movement doesn't look like everyone's on the front lines, because everyone's on the front lines. No one's protecting us behind us. No one's doing the logistics. The movement looks like everything. There's no one person that can't fit into the movement some way and do something that is beneficial and that is needed. I'm not gonna say we don't need police. What I would say is we don't need the kind of policing that we have now. And it would take me 12 hours, but I have what I think that policing should look like.
Oh man, I would love. I wish we had time to go over.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, I think about things like that, and I mean, I'm person based in reality. So, you know, I believe that if you're gonna dismantle a system, you have to have a system to put in place. Otherwise, it'll be extreme chaos. And yeah, and people wouldn't know what to do. So that's what the solutions are. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Black Lives Matter New Haven. Email us, add me or whatever, however they say it.
Can I make a request?
Yeah.
If you could just put more information about what you actually do in Black Lives Matter, so everybody can understand it.
Well,
no. I'm not talking about the community. I'm talking about police departments. Because they don't know what Black Lives Matter is.
Well,
no, you don't have to explain it here, but I think that's something that you should really think about in terms of, because it's not about the message. It's about how the message is being sent and received. So you want people to hear you, you know, and hear your concerns. I think it has to be shared. Because once people find out, like everybody, you know, like say healthcare, for example, everybody wants everybody to have healthcare, but there's a certain way you got to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody's not listening. Nobody's listening to each other. So I think police departments need to hear about what it's really about, because I really don't know everything about it. Right. I have a lot on my plate that I'm trying to do, and I there's a lot of other organizations that are out there, and you're one of them, one of the newer ones, and I think I want to know more. Okay, I want to know what else you're doing, because the media's only showing you picketing and yelling before an incident is even finished. That's all we see.
Mm-hmm.
That's all
that's
we see.
what they
That's
want you
all
to
we
see.
see.
Yeah, during
right,
But here's the thing, and the media also only wants you to see us fighting, throwing people down, and shooting. That's all they want you to see. That's all you see.
Right.
So thank you for that. And Orisha, real quick, thank you. See, I won. I told you I won.
Oh no,
we got a little inside joke, but I won that one.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Don, let's go to you and we'll wrap up.
I don't have solutions right now. I think part of the thing that we have to do and understand is that we have to work in our spheres of influence. Right? We need people strategically placed at different parts of the system in order for it to change. Right? Everybody is not going to be the person marching. Everybody is not going to be the person who is going to be able to get to the meetings and take off and stuff like that. So I think we also have to hold people like me accountable, right? So these faculty members who make it out these communities and are on these nice campuses and stuff like that, to bring our asses down, to be with the people. Not coming down in the way, okay, we got these degrees and we know everything, but to humble ourselves, come down, see what the people need, and then from there, we make our progress based on the needs that have been put forth by the people. That's what we have to do. And so in my practice as a public sociologist, I like to say that I work for and with the people. I don't do research on the people, and I think that's the difference. So I think we have to be within these communities, and we have to use our institutions as a way to benefit the community. And so right now my sphere of influence is working in the community, but also educating the people who are in my classes, because a lot of them want to become law enforcement officers. And so I'm trying to do all that I can to dispel the nonsense that they come into these programs with. And so that's the part that I'm doing on campus, in addition to the work that I try and do with you and others in the community.
All right. So I want to again thank you all for coming through. Already I'm looking at 17 shares already from multiple people.
Awesome.
So this is crazy beneficial, not just for everybody listening, but for me personally, just because I have questions. I want to know, and I got a lot of insight today about not just police tactics, but also ways that we as a community can voice our concerns about certain things and certain issues. So I want to thank you all, and I will be doing this again in about, maybe sooner than 2 months, and it might just be revolving around a different tactic. Orisha, I wanted to invite you to do something. I don't know if it's something you'd be interested in, but I was inboxed about a module that police officers offer and I wanted to do it too,
It's funny you brought that up. 'cause
where
I
we
was-
can go through some tactical training and see exactly what they do.
Oh, I'm all the way around.
You with that?
I'm all the way around.
You with
I'm
that?
like 10 toes down. I'm all the way around.
All right. So I'm with it too.
Okay.
And I'm thinking we could do it, and then we could come back and kind of reflect on that and see.
Do
what
you
that
have
looks
the
like.
do you have that person contact? They're gonna
They
offer that to you?
they inboxed me and they gave me the website and they were gonna offer it, but I don't. If you have something that's even closer,
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Well, since you're already on the show, I say we.
Is this the
rock
thing
with
in like
you.
Rhode Island or something?
That's
What?
in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
this
right.
was in Connecticut. But I say since you're on the show and we already have this connection, I say we rock with you if that's something you
I think
offer.
that'd be good.
Let's
Yeah,
do
I'm
it.
around.
To do it and then come back and debrief.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah. All right.
Definitely.
So we set up
Angry
the
or
next show.
not working.
Come on, man.
All right. Barbershop Debate
I gotta
Podcast.
tell you, you ain't gonna do good.
Thank you, everybody.
I already know. I tried to join the
Good night.
Navy. They were like, yeah,
They were like,
no. You have too many opinions
Yo,
about
that was great,
everything.
y'all. That was a great.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of-
so that
there's a lot
was
of
you
stuff.
saying that about the babies in the new moon.
Mhm.
Was that you?
Mhm.
I
That was
happened to
great.
be looking into that, watching it, because I shared it on
All
my
right,
page.
black
I didn't know
man.
who you were.
I
It
gotta
just came
go,
up on my thing.
Nah, mine ain't gonna
I
kill me. She
was
mad at me.
here.
So
Like I
now
said, I
she
love
wasn't
my
even talking
brother.
to me.
That